Hello everyone and welcome back guys to another How to F1 2017 video, and I can only apologise. I think we can all agree, it's safe to say, it's been quite a while since I made the last one of these videos. But today we are back here to talk about tyre wear saving. In my opinion, probably one of the most crucial things you've got to really be able to try and do in Formula 1 on the F1 2017 game. I really feel this game over any other in the Formula 1 franchise, really the driver does dictate how well his tyres can last during each stint. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to race around at the US Grand Prix circuit. The first time I'm going to be running a time trial setup at rich revs, basically making the tyre wear and obviously almost putting it to an extreme of how badly it can really go if you don't know how to save your tyres. And then the second time round I'm going to alter the setup, explain obviously what you do need to change around obviously to make sure that the tyres do last that bit longer. If you are here from the AOR Driver Academy, then if you've got any questions, do feel free to ask down below this thread. Just tag me to make sure that I do see them as well. But yeah, here we are then around the US Grand Prix circuit. Going to make sure we're on the fully time trial setup. I can't remember whose it was on the leaderboards. And one thing I will say absolutely instantly was this car did not feel stable. Now it's probably wonderful over one lap pace. You can see coming through to the S section there, losing the back end ever so slightly. Yeah, this car was certainly not a car that I would personally like to race during most races. Personally, I'm very much more of a race strategy kind of guy over a one lap pace. Qualifying to me, really doesn't make up too much in terms of racing in the Formula 1 2017 game. As you can see, as we come out the hairpin there, we actually do lose the back end, which I think really does prove the point about how unstable this car really is, with this setup on at the moment. So I'm going to rewind that and, continue on with this lap. I'm going to leave you on board with both of my qualifying laps, obviously, when we do move on round to the tyre saving session. But yeah, this setup, personally, not really one that I would obviously use. As you can tell, obviously, there, I don't feel particularly consistent with that setup. But yeah, I think certainly for me, as I was saying, tyre wear is one of the most crucial factors on the F1 2017 game. A lot of races are really on the cusp between a 1 and a 2 stop, so it's crucial that if you can open up yourself that one stop strategy, you could save easily sort of 30 seconds from not having to pit. You may be a bit slower on the tyres that you're on, but overall I've also found that you're also a bit more consistent. So realistically, over the terms of say like a 10 lap stint, you're not actually going to lose out on that much time. Coming down in towards the final couple of corners here down at this US Grand Prix circuit, absolutely running as late on the brakes as we possibly can, nice and early on the throttle, and it is going to be a 1 minute 34.7 there. Quite a quick lap on the whole, nothing absolutely world shattering there, but I sort of wanted to make sure that this wasn't too many practice runs over and over there. But yeah, as I said, a 1 minute 34.729, and now it's time to move on into the race. I'm going to be using rich revs all the way through this stint, going to be flooring the car as much as possible, but it's lights out and away we go, and you can just hear they're bouncing off the rev limiter as we try and get the car started, and that's probably one of the easiest times you can shred your tyres on this game, off the launches there. You've got to make sure, as I show you in the second stint, that you just got to try and make sure that you don't absolutely light up the rear tyres. The tyre wear started on 4% here, so you're already coming through Sector 1. We're already struggling with the back end of this car as it is just so unstable here, but already doubled that tyre wear on the rear tyres, all the way up to 9% already in this, well, the first half a lap here, and that certainly, just really instantly kickstarts how, poor the tyre wear can be. Coming through, locking up the front inside wheel there, we're really just trying to push this car to the absolute limits here in the early stages of this race. And as I said, this is a worst case scenario. If anyone really drives like this throughout a race, you've either really got to be quite confident in your ability, and you're also going to make quite a few mistakes in the grand scheme of things. If you're trying, you can't run 30 qualifying laps in an AOR race, for example. You have to make sure that you do calm it down at times. You do try and play a bit more of a long game here. As you can see, coming through the final sector, kicking out the back end absolutely everywhere here. You will spin, there is no denying that. You will make mistakes, as really when you're not expecting it, and especially with a car that is so loose on the rear end, you are just going to find yourself losing out more time than you're going to gain, really, in the long run as we come at the final quarters. Finish that one, it is going to be a 1 minute 37.0 there. So quite a quick first lap of this Grand Prix. You can see we've already made up a couple of seconds over the AI behind me here. These laps, you know, this pace won't be the quickest you'll ever see, but, you know, I still felt it was quite quick on the whole there as we move on to lap 2 of the race. And coming down in through sector 1, this sector I absolutely hated with this setup. As you can see, losing the back end absolutely massively there. Full opposite lock. That is certainly not going to do the tyres any good there, and that's exactly what I mean in terms of making mistakes. You know, it's just going to happen so often during the early stages of these races here, especially with so much fuel on board as well. Obviously, it means that the small mistakes become even bigger. And, you know, you will just lose the back end even more, and just one lap later on lap 3, you know, my team already want me to move onto a new set of tyres here. So it just really goes to show how poor the tyre wear can be on this set, you know, if you really do try and push the car to the absolute limit. So what would be the main things overall then that I'd say to avoid, you know, if you want to try and save your tyres? First of all, definitely you want to be short shifting up. Say, for example, in qualifying, if you take a corner in 3rd gear, for example, turn 1, it's 3rd gear corner on acceleration. You want to be in 4th. It will help you in the long run. It'll mean that you get less wheel spin off the corner. You can be more consistent where you can change gear earlier off the corner as well. So you won't have to fight the car one lap and then other lap it might actually be okay. It'll also actually save you a tiny bit of fuel. And on F1 2017, fuel saving is actually quite critical in terms of, you know, racing other cars. If you've got, say, half a lap extra fuel in the car towards the end of the Grand Prix that you've basically saved up by just being consistent, you know, it's really a win-win situation here as we come through the final couple of corners to finish lap 6 of the Grand Prix, losing the back end still absolutely massively here. And as we come through in towards the second to last corner, they're dipping the car over the curbs. That is certainly not been the stint that, you know, we would have wanted. Able to take the car 6 laps there, and, you know, that really hasn't opened myself up. Many race strategies there. I'm going to pit on both stints when the car gets up to about just over 60% wear, there or thereabouts. I'm then opt to make my pit stop there. And yeah, that really does go to show 6 laps on a set of tyres here. USA isn't exactly a track that shreds the tyres either. So 6 laps in the first stint. Now I'm going to move over into the second run. I'm going to change the setup around slightly and see how far we can go. So let's move on then into the repeat of this US Grand Prix. Moving on into qualifying here to save tyres. There are a few little things that you want to do. Some of this I will have discussed in my setup video. If you want to watch that, I will leave a link down in the description. But yeah, gonna up the aerodynamics ever so slightly so you got more grip on the car. Gonna up the adjustment on and off throttle, increase the camber and also the suspension geometry there. Gonna make sure that both the front suspension, rear suspension, roll bar and ride height is, you know, a bit more neutral, a bit more down the middle. Going to reduce the brake pressure ever so slightly down to about 76-77%. And also I'm going to move it down the front brake bias there so it's closer to 50%. Tyres, I'm going to reduce the pressures ever so slightly. This means you've got a wider surface area, and that'll also help you out. And ballast, one of the most crucial things I found on this game, I'm going to bring down all the way down to 6. So this qualifying lap, it shouldn't theoretically be anywhere near as quick as my other run. You know, the car is going to be a bit slower on the whole, you know, sort of everywhere really in the grand scheme of things, you know, but in the long run, it will really help you out there. So as you come at turn 1, you can see short shifting up through the gears ever so slightly, just saving you that bit of fuel. You don't really need to redline Formula 1 cars nowadays, you know, you can sort of shift up at around 11,500 revs to really, you know, get the most out of the power unit as we come through sector 1. We have lost a bit of time over my last run. If you do remember, the first qualifying time we did on, you know, the absolute push to the limits was a 1 minute 34.7. I'm also only running standard revs for this stint as well. You know, really want to try and make sure that we, you know, we keep it so the differences that we have got are, you know, absolutely pushed to the limit there. And at the moment, we're not actually leading in this qualifying session there. But one of the other things, though, you know, as I spoke about, you know, obviously short shifting, as I said, one of the most crucial things you can do to try and save tyre wear. The next one I'd say, actually try to avoid the curbs quite a bit as well. Obviously, for those of you that do know, you know, you play Formula 1 and things like that quite a lot, even, you know, flat curbs, they really do pick up the wheel speed a lot, and in the end, that'll just mean you'll put in more rubber in the ground and not really helping out your tyre wear, particularly as we come down in towards the final couple of corners there. So, first of all, make sure that you are not, you're short shifting out of corners. Second of all, avoid the curbs. Third, change around your setup a bit. Obviously, what I've shown you at the start of this lap may not work for everyone, but overall it should help you out just a bit. And as we come across the line, it is going to be a 1 minute 35. I think it was a 1:35.8. It might have been a 1:35.9. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head. We'll find out in just a second. It was actually a 1 minute 35.8 there, so 1 second slower than we were on my first run there. But notice, first of all, we didn't actually bin it on this lap at one point there, so it really does just show how much more consistent you can be with even just a few small changes. But now's the time, place your bets on how far you reckon this set of tyres will last. 8 laps, 9 laps, perhaps even 10 laps would be quite crazy here. But on the grid then, 5 lights, make sure we don't get off to a wheel spinny start. Going to short shift straight up into second gear there. Don't want to be a red line in the car whatsoever in there, and we've got it to a nice clean start there. Braking down in towards turn 1, going to make sure we just get ahead of the AI there, being a bit aggressive there, just so you know that we don't have them hindering our performance during this first stint. But yeah, the next thing I'd probably say in terms of focusing on tyre wear is be smooth. Obviously, it's so much easier to do on a wheel. I can only apologise to pad players. I don't really play F1 on a pad. Unfortunately, wheel users tend to just have that bit of an advantage in terms of tyre saving abilities. You can just be that bit cleaner with the car. And as you can see, coming to the end of lap 1, we've got less tyre wear than we had by the end of sector 1 on my other stint there. We started the race on 4% tyre wear, just like we did the first time, and now as you can see, coming to the end of lap 2, we're at exactly the same tyre wear that we were by the end of lap 1 during the other stint there. So tyre wear, as I said, you just got to use those 4 key steps. Alter the setup so it's a bit smoother. Short shift the car so you're not revving the wheels, you're not revving up the car as much, and just end up bogging down, having a bit more wheel spin. Obviously, use standard revs as well. That's another big thing. Standard revs really can save the tyres in this game. And now, as we skip on to lap 6, this was the point where we had to pit on the other set of tyres. As you can see, we're barely at 30% on the front there. Lose the back end quite a bit out of that corner. Just shows that mistakes will still happen. When you are, trying to be consistent. Sometimes, you'll get a bit, overzealous on the throttle, and you will make a couple of small mistakes there. But end of lap 6, we have gone near enough half the tyre wear usage that we had on the first stint there. We haven't really lost much more time overall as well, as we now skip on to the end of lap 8 here. The tyres now up to just 40% wear overall there. It's working absolutely beautifully for myself at the moment, you can see. And really, as I was saying at the start of the video, if you're, say, doing a race like Bahrain, for example, where the 1 stop and the 2 stop can be really, really tight, you can save yourself nearly 30 seconds by not having to make that extra pit stop there. You may lose sort of 15-20 seconds in terms of just being slower, having to save those tyres a bit more, but on the whole, I promise you, from my own experience, it will benefit you absolutely massively as we come down in towards the final sector of lap 11 of this Grand Prix. Near enough gone twice as far as we did on the original set, and the tyre wear still only at just below 60% here. Now as we come through, the double left-hand apex here, down in towards the Turkey S section of lap 11 of this race. You can see running the wide ever so slightly. I have noticed as well on this game, the higher the tyre wear is, the more degradation that you do seem to find. And on the end of a lap 11 here, I'm going to dive it into the pits. I probably could have done one more lap there, which would have meant I would have done double the amount of laps that I did during the first stint there, guys. But there we are then. That really does hopefully just prove how much you can really save the tyres on this game. As I said at the start of this video, if you are on the AOR Driver Academy thread, then do not forget to, if you've got any questions about, any more tips and tricks that you want to see about tyre saving, do remember to leave them down in this thread. I'm more than happy to try and help out everyone as much as possible, as obviously I am a driver advice coordinator. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully, this video has still helped you out in the grand scheme of things there. Maybe, it can mean that the next Grand Prix you have to do, you can do a 1-stop rather than a 2-stop. But as I said, hopefully, this video has helped you out. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more driver advice tips on this channel. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time for a brand new video.